Fox News alert millions of American families.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN News Watch. I'm George Thomas. We begin with the latest.
Here in St. John's Knoxville, there are certainly a lot of efforts here at the LAPD and all across the South.
Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us for CBN News Watch. I'm George Thomas. We begin with the latest in the coronavirus pandemic. Number of cases here in the U.S.
Welcome to Rise to Liberty podcast, the best podcast you've never heard of, fighting for free speech and spreading the message of liberty. Find us at risetoliberty.com for everything related to the show, including our merch, social media, episode player, and much more. risetoliberty.com/blue dress for a special piece of merchandise that a portion of the proceeds will be donated to savethechildren.org to help fight child trafficking. Thomas Queter is rolling for New York State Senate. The people of District 52 has been used and abused by a bloated and corrupt government. Thomas has been fighting his whole life and is now taking the fight to the ones responsible. Give the people of District 52 a fighting chance and head over to tomfor52.com and leave a donation. Greasy Porcupine's Mobile Auto Repair, helping the people of Arizona to maintain or repair their vehicles for a reasonable price. Little money, no money, Greasy Porcupines still want to help. Open Monday through Saturday, 24 hours a day. Just visit greasyporcupines.org or call 602-845-0105. Now today, got a great guest. Been wanting to get him on for a minute. And gonna be talking some radical shit, man. So got Brian Kunkoski, right?
Kunkoski. It was close enough.
Okay. Better known as
I've heard much worse.
Yeah. Better known as Suburban Agorist. So how you doing tonight?
I'm doing great. Had a good days at work, so ready to do this thing.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. Well,
I would like to comment on both your sponsors. Thomas is rolling the joke. That's fucking hilarious. He runs better than Albany, but he's rolling in the candidacy. I like it.
Yeah, right.
And then the Greasy Porcupine, that's a great thing that Alex is doing. It doesn't get more free market than what he's doing with that. I'm hoping I get some free time here soon and I can start helping him on the East Coast a little bit with that. I'd really like to help him with that. So both of those things, definitely check them out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, they're great. And they're great people, too, honestly. Like, the idea that Alex has behind the whole Greasy Porcupines thing. I mean, he's doing just the mobile auto repair right now, but, you know, wanting to expand it into other trades and everything. Like, it's just such a great idea. And helping people, you know, down on their luck or people that aren't down on their luck, you know, he does accept donations and everything. So it's a great dude providing a great service. So
exactly. You don't know when a $300 brake change is between somebody going to work or not for that week. So he definitely does a great thing.
Oh, yeah. And, I mean, Thomas Queter. How could you ever not like the guy?
No.
You know?
Don't even need to say anything about him.
Yeah, exactly.
Rolling in.
Yep. So, I guess let's hit it with some of the biggest news. Fucking Kyle Rittenhouse. How do you feel about the whole thing?
I don't even think it should be a trial, personally. I think it's all the reasons for self-defense, right? One, he was being chased down and then he was cornered. Another one, he was being assaulted with a skateboard. And another one, he had a firearm pointed at him. And to me, in my personal opinion, watching the videos, it looks to me like for a 17-year-old kid in that situation, he did a pretty good job of restraining himself, right? I mean, if you watch the video of when bicep vaporized guy, I can't remember their names, when he first pulled out his handgun and kind of pointed it towards him, but not at him yet at that point, you could see Kyle, like, hold back from just going at it because he wanted to see if this guy was actually going to be a threat or not. It was that little split second you could see the tip of his rifle go like that and then come back. To me, it seemed like he had perfectly good restraint. He wasn't just there because of that night. He was already there helping out, boarding up buildings and windows and things like that, helping protect property. He didn't bring the gun across state lines. The gun was already in the state. He's legally allowed to carry the gun. Yeah. So, I mean, it really shouldn't be a trial, in my opinion. But I think it's a media pressure kind of thing, and they've got to. I mean, I saw something on Twitter before we got on here saying that they're already putting out 500 National Guard troops, and just in case he gets exonerated of all of his charges. So it's a big farce, but I think it's just another way to divide us. There's other trials going on right now that I think have a little bit bigger implications. I'm not as well versed at it just because you don't see it that often, and I don't have that much time to look into it. So the Kyle Rittenhouse trial, I think, is just a big farce. It's just another thing that just to further divide us, because that's all you see it doing is just dividing people. It is bringing people together, but it's people that would have been brought together for other issues to begin with. So I'm bummed that it's even happening to begin with. 17-year-old kid at the time, he's an 18 now, but when you're living under that for the past year, well, you're stuck at 17 until this is all done and over with. So I do feel bad for the kid that he was ever in that situation. He didn't know. He wasn't planning on that.
I can't even imagine the stress his whole family is under. His poor mom.
I mean, I've gone to court for marijuana charges when you couldn't have marijuana here. And I would have never gotten in trouble for it now, 9 years later. But just going to court for something like that you already know the outcome. Your lawyer's already told you the outcome, and it's still stressful. I couldn't imagine being in his shoes. I really couldn't, and I feel bad for the kid. I really do.
Yeah, it's amazing. I was actually just listening in on a Clubhouse room right before we hopped on, and because Kyle Rittenhouse rooms have been all over Clubhouse for the past week, 2 weeks, and man, just the justifications people have for why he's guilty is just absolutely insane to me. It blows my mind. It's like, oh, he shouldn't have crossed state lines, never should have been there in the first place, and even so far to some race hucksters trying to throw racism into the mix. He's a white supremacist and all this stuff, and it's like, go fuck yourself.
And it's people don't even know the laws, and they don't even know the backstory. They don't know, and then like you were saying, people try to make it almost like they're trying to criminalize intent now. Yeah. And that's what that's the creepy thing that I'm hearing a lot. It's a lot of people saying, well, what was his intent? What was his thought process undergoing all of this? And that's the thing that scares me, because thought police, once we start policing our thoughts, our intents, we have no hope. And that you're seeing that with this case, and it's really starting to creep me out.
Oh yeah. It's I think like you said, this isn't the only case going on right now. I think it's important in the aspect of the outcome, not necessarily for him himself, but if they can, essentially set the precedent for outline self-defense, I mean, that changes the game for everything. I mean, this is the most well-documented case of self-defense, I think, probably ever. So many different camera angles, eyewitnesses, and if he doesn't have the right to self-preservation, then God forbid anybody else tries to shoot a carjacker or anything, it's over.
And then how dare he go across state lines? Freedom of movement, is that not one of our biggest liberties that's naturally given to us? So there's so many implications from this case, and it's not just self-defense with a firearm.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's the intent that people keep talking about. The intent. You can't talk about you can't put somebody under arrest for a thought crime. You can't put them into court for something they might do. They didn't do it. That's not how the law works. They're innocent because they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
And then you have, it's just a whole cluster of what our civil liberties actually are, and it's a really good way to figure out who aligns with you and who doesn't, right?
Oh yeah, it's crazy. It kind of makes me laugh though. It's the people complaining about the state line thing are the same people that are typically on the side of open borders, and it's like, so borders only matter when it comes to Kyle, but otherwise, open or closed borders is a terrible thing. It's
yeah, and you're seeing it now because the moderate Democrats feel like they have a voice with Biden, and Biden is not open borders at all.
Yeah.
I mean, it's obvious, and so the open border Democrats they're getting kind of shushed. Sure, they got AOC and Ilhan Omar, but they've really been quiet because Biden is just pushing his agenda hard and hard in this infrastructure bill and everything like that. So it's not even the open border narrative can't even get off the ground right now. It's all about infrastructure and Kyle Rittenhouse and
yeah, it's crazy seeing where things are going. It's like when somebody reminded me that it was just a year ago that this whole Kenosha thing happened. I was like, holy shit, only a year ago? Like, it feels so much longer than that. Like, the past 2 years dragged.
Well, I think that's by design, honestly. You got to think all last year, unless you were an essential worker, you were stuck at home. So you would talk to people. I went to work every day still, but I would have friends that were working from home, and they'd be like, "Fuck, I don't even know what day it is. Like, I don't know what anything is going on out in the outside world." Meanwhile, I'm still tooling around, going to work, going to all the basic stores that I would go to anyway. I don't go really anywhere, So to me, life was kind of normal. It was just a lot less traffic, but people being locked down, working from home, not even taking a drive around. It was this huge disparity just in my own community of people that were for sure that it was apocalyptic outside. Meanwhile, I'm going to PetSmart, I'm going to the liquor store, going to the dispensary, you know what I mean? Like, it doesn't really change my life at all.
Yeah, nothing really changed for me. I mean, I was essential the whole way through doing warehouse work, so in fact, for a large majority of the time, I was working in a beer warehouse, and
nice.
Yeah, I mean, other than the company itself sucked ass, but being in a beer warehouse was pretty cool. But people were drinking more. Lots of people were home. Keg sales went down. People weren't going out to the bars, and of course the bars were shut down for a little bit, but other than that, beer sales were up, and really we ran into issues with supply shortages, mainly of certain brands. We were Miller Coors products for our region, so it was Pabst, Coors Light, Keystone, of course a whole bunch of local stuff, and we usually run into supply chain issues with Coors Light or Keystone or something. We'd get 12, 13 pallets of Coors Light in and no Keystone, and we'd be out of Keystone for 2 or 3 weeks. And then here comes a bunch of Keystone, and it was just all over the place. But other than that, everything was normal.
Well, that's what they're dealing with. They're dealing with that still. Not beer, but juice boxes.
Yeah.
My son's 4 years old, and we cannot find juice boxes. It's either like Capri Sun, which isn't juice, or it's like Minute Maid, like lemonade, which is 0% juice. It's not a juice box. We just want apple juice in a box so we can take it to school. And So then that's what the people at the grocery store are saying, the same thing. There'll be nothing for weeks, then all of a sudden they get one huge pallet of it, and then it's gone in 2 days, and they don't know when they're getting more. So that's kind of telling that it should have been a good foreshadowing of what was to come.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, the supply shortages. I don't know how things are over in your area. Things over here in Utah. It's interesting. You'll see, depending on the store, particular areas will just be completely empty. But you go to another store, and then the same products, everything's full. So it's like really spotty.
I see that just in my town alone. You go to the grocery stores that are in the less affluent areas, and they're missing a shit ton of shit. Like, if you were to strictly go to that grocery store, you'd be like, things are bad. Things are happening. This isn't right. But then you go 4 miles up the road, go to the more affluent part of the town, go to that grocery store. It's a food abundance there. Shelves are overflowing with stuff. There's certain things like the packaged stuff like that we shouldn't eat anyway. But so I'm not really missing those. I know we had a party over the weekend, and I got potato chips. The bag of potato chips was $5.
Holy shit.
I think that's a lot for potato chips, right?
Yeah.
So you're seeing the prices, and if you're in certain areas, you're definitely seeing the shortages, like most definitely. And really what's screwed up, if you think about it, people that are in lower income areas typically eat more prepackaged foods. Well, that's what's not coming to the shelf.
Yeah.
In our area, produce is abundant. Well, it's getting towards winter now, so it's slowing down, but during the beginning of this whole shortage thing, produce was abundant and cheap. Meat was expensive, and packaged goods were expensive. And it's still the same, with just less and less amounts. And same with produce. I mean, we're getting out of produce season. You're going to have to start shipping it from Canada, from the greenhouses, and then I'm sure that has its whole supply chain. Then we're going to be out of fresh produce by February, probably.
Yeah, exactly. And then at that point, what did people start doing? You know, there's some people that, you know, canned goods and everything, that only goes so far. You know, some of us go out of our way and actually can fruits and vegetables and stuff like that, you know, and that's, you know, it's kind of funny. It's one thing I haven't seen a shortage of, at least in my area, has been mason jars. Not a single one.
Oh, in my area there have been. All spring and summer and fall. You find inconvenient sizes, the little ones.
Oh, yeah.
Or the really, really big ones.
Yeah.
But none of the regular sizes that you would typically use for canning. So actually in our area, the ball mason jars are in short supply too. And you do see them. You see them in like hardware stores, and they're price gouging them.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I've definitely seen a price increase. But just right around the corner from my house, we have a Tractor Supply, and they're fully stocked of mason jars. We've got a kind of I guess it's a country store. It's called Smith & Edwards out here just north, and they've got an entire section of just canning. Everything canning you could possibly think of is in their section, and they're fully stocked. Prices are about the same, gone up just a little bit. I think that's mainly an inflation thing. They're so local and been a part of the community for so long, they're not going to try and price gouge too many people. They would piss off a lot of people around here. But yeah, it's really interesting to see what's coming in, what's not coming in.
Yeah, and it's not. It's really sporadic. It's not always what you would think. Sometimes it'll be like, oh, they probably won't have that. You know, they haven't had that in a couple weeks, and then you go there, oh, they have it. So it's not even like you can plan for these things. It just happens. Yeah. Bacon. The grocery store that we usually go to. 2 weeks ago, no bacon at all, none at all.
Oh,
not at the butcher's, not at the butcher's counter, and none like in the fridge, the prepackaged bacon.
Yeah,
all gone. That's bad. That's bad when there's no bacon.
Wow, I can't even imagine what that looks like. Like I don't think I've ever seen that before. So that's That's wild. So
Yeah, it's happening, and that's actually at not the more affluent, but it's in the more affluent area the grocery store is, and they were out of bacon. They had turkey bacon, but
that's not bacon.
That's not bacon.
Yeah, that's so. Well, have you been able to, try to, I guess, plan ahead or try to stave off any of this shortage?
Yeah, so back when the pandemic started, I decided it's time. Like, it may have been too late. Luckily, it wasn't too late, but it's better late than never. That's what I always say. It's never too late to start prepping. So we already had chickens pre-pandemic, so that was good. I'm sorry, I got a gnat flying around. So we already had chickens, and we were already planning on starting a garden this spring of 2020. So we were already kind of in that mindset, and then it kind of was like, all right, now we really got to do this. So we had our first farm grow last year. It was my first time at this property, and it did not do so good. There were a bunch of bugs that I've never dealt with. At one point, the chickens knocked down the fence, and they got in all my tomatoes and destroyed all the tomatoes. So it was a big learning curve last year, and that's what it's all about. So I kind of did the same thing again this year, but just took more care in the way that I laid out the plants, made sure the fence was good, and we had an okay year. It was still rough. I think I need to change something up. I think I need to go to raised beds or do barrels or something like that, because where I want my garden in the ground, it's just not the most nutrient rich. Of course, of all places in my yard, it's like the sandiest spot. In the other corner where I have like a fire pit and where people hang out, that's where like the soil is super black. So we got to change our methods, but we were able to preserve some stuff. It was a good learning curve. We got to can some stuff, freeze some stuff, just get a good grip on everything, and then we can go full scale next year.
Hell yeah. Good for you. That's my wife and my plan is basically, unfortunately, we're actually just in our first place, as a couple. We got kind of lucky, found a nice townhome, just renting. Ever since we got together, though, we I guess I kind of radicalized her, so and her and I got to talking about getting our own little plot of land, considering housing prices going up everywhere and everything. We're luckily in a pretty good position to where we can still make it happen, as long as we don't put it off for too much longer. But that's pretty much our plan, is to get something and really just do it ourselves. Which brings me, so your name, Suburban Agorist, Agorism. I personally believe it's the best way to go right now. Honestly, probably much sooner than now, but do you want to give a rundown to people who might not know what agorism is?
Yeah, so agorism was first coined by Samuel Edward Konkin III back in 1974, I believe. He believed that a free market thrives best. Absolutely. He was 100%. He was a big Mises supporter. Free market capitalism was his way, but it also came with other things alongside the economic aspect of it. It's actually practicing libertarianism, not just the political side, voting, activism, things like that. It's growing your own food without a permit if it requires. Chickens, like in my area, you're supposed to have a permit to have chickens. Fuck that. I have chickens, and I tell everybody, just talk to your neighbors if you want chickens, and if your immediate neighbors are cool with it, then what's the issue? There's nobody's going to call the county on you, right?
Yeah.
Not paying taxes, avoiding them at all costs, whether it's you're just going to not pay them. I no legal advice, but not paying them and then letting them come to you and ask for the money. There are some people that have that mentality. Screw it. Come at me, whether it's $10, $15, $20, $30,000. Come at me when it's time, but I'm not paying taxes. And then, or all the loopholes. Dan Berman's great with all the tax loopholes. I think you had him on a few weeks ago, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Talk to him. Great resource.
Yeah, amazing resource. So and then it's other things like and it's not always comfortable things. It's not renewing your vehicle registration, not renewing your license, 3D printing firearms. It's everything that the state would hate for you to do. Taking away any source of revenue for the state is leaning towards agorism. It's distancing yourself from the state as much as possible. It's not, we can't all be Adam Kokesh and just move to the middle of nowhere and just do our agorist anarchist thing. We all can't do that. So we have to abide by some sort of status civility in our day-to-day lives. I live in a suburban neighborhood, thus Suburban Agorist, and you live in a townhome, so we have to do certain things. We have to pay a property tax or our house is going to get taken away. We have to pay HOA fees if it need be. We have to do these certain things in order to stay where we are so that we can keep fighting the state. So I don't like it when people are like, oh, you're not an anarchist because you don't do this. Well, would you rather me be homeless and not be able to do anything at all?
Yeah.
So it's agorism is the idea of full anarcho-capitalist, libertarian lifestyle. But we have to recognize that you have to do it in some sensible fashion. I am a registered libertarian, so I go against the agorist mindset by practicing in politics. But I see that as the best avenue for now, until maybe we don't need the Libertarian Party anymore. We can keep pushing these ideas without a party at all, right? Because we got to change people's minds, change people's lifestyles. The best way to do it right now is just tell people to not comply. Whether it's vaccine mandates, mask mandates, vehicle registration, just anything that the state is trying to coerce you or force you to do or threaten you, if you don't do it, just don't do it. If we all just stop doing all these things, then what are they going to do? They can't arrest all of us. I think Spike Cohen has a good little, I don't know how accurate the numbers are, but it's somewhere, it's 1% of the population enforce the rules. So if 3 to 5% of the population just doesn't comply, they can't enforce any of those rules anymore. And that's something that people need to realize. If you're scared because I don't my license isn't up to date and I can't spend the $200 to renew it or whatever it might be, I'm going to go to jail. Well, if everybody just stopped renewing their license, they can't throw everybody in jail.
Yeah.
So it's this fear, it's this fear, this false, it's almost like a false authority that people think that the government has over us, because it is a false authority. Nobody has authority over your life except you. And as soon as people can start thinking like that, start thinking that, authority is who you grant it to. Now, if you want the state to run your life, then go ahead in your little communist dictatorship world and let the government run your life and keep you safe and comfortable and blah, blah, blah. But for the rest of us that want to do our own thing, that aren't going to hurt people, aren't going to steal people's stuff, that want to work together, that want to make the world a better place, that cares about the environment, all of these things that you don't necessarily people don't always think about libertarianism off the bat, but that's what it's all about. We are here because of this world. We need to protect it, but the government has done a really fucking shitty job of protecting it. And all the cronyism, all the corporatism, that's what's ruined this world. It's not us driving around in our cars It's the giant corporations that get tax break and this and that and this, and just to fuck us over and enslave us almost. You can almost say that we are slaves at this point. We are cash cows. We're revenue for the state, and that's it.
We're tax animals. You know, we're all financial slaves. It's that's a great rundown of agorism. You know, it's just an opt out. You know,
it is. And it's not an opt-out of life, right? It makes life harder. Really, it really makes life harder.
Yeah, it's personal responsibility.
It's so fulfilling when you can do things that are on your own. When you can barter, your skill for a good or something like that. That's really what it comes down to. Is community economics. Is keeping. It's almost an egoist kind of mentality in a way that you're more concerned about community than the nation or the state or even the nation, right? You're worried about your community, the people that you interact with. The way I like to think about it is back in the day before we had automobiles and trains and planes and everything else, where could you how far could you realistically go on a horse or a carriage or by foot to trade, to have an economy? That's kind of the way I like to think about as how I like to keep my money. I like to go small business if possible. Like I said, you have to still live, so you can't do. There's not always a small business that's in your community that you can support. It's just not realistic. Now, if there is, that's amazing, and can I move there? But try it. Spend that extra $10-15. Create a rapport with these people, and you have a connection, and then you can, if times are tough down the road, like, dude, I really need my computer fixed, but I can't pay for it right now. Oh man, you're good. You always come to me. You send people to me, whatever. I got you this time. Don't worry about it. We'll figure out the money later or something. And that's community, and that's volunteerism, and that's a community economy. It's not always, and that's. I don't really call myself a capitalist because capital means money, and money is what you make it, right? Money is what you make it. I'm more concerned about the service, the good that's being transacted as opposed to a currency for a good or service.
Well, and even with that, even if you wanted to go the capitalist route, there's other ways to go around it to still opt out of our fiat currency. I mean, we've got crypto. My favorite, it started out as silver bullion. I've been a silver ape for a long time, man. I love that shiny shit. And then, now, there's a company over here in Utah making the gold backs.
The gold backs. They're I've seen them in my state too. That is awesome. Gold backs are awesome.
Yeah, the premium on them, man, that's where they get you. But honestly, I'll pay the premium just because of just the pure stance, the ethical stance behind them. It's amazing. Anything to get my wealth, my value out of U.S. money. Any way to get away from the credit cards, the debit cards, loans, any of that. Just put my wealth into something else that is not U.S. based or credit based, then I'm all for it. And so, you can go that route. And yeah, honestly, the most basic form of that is skills. What can you offer? What can you actually do? And I think people hear agorism, right? Agorism. And of course, there's like those hardcore people, Adam Kokesh, just living it to the most extreme. And that's great. But sometimes maybe it's just, somebody living in a normal community, but they go to a butcher instead of, buying their meat at a grocery store chain. It's just these little changes that you make in your life might cost a little bit more up front, but you're keeping your money local And it is really about building those relationships in your community. I think that's one of the most important things. We've gotten to a point in our society where most of us don't know our neighbors, and like that's just such a shame.
It really is. I don't always party with my neighbors, but I do. You know, we talk every day. You know, when I got chickens, or before I got chickens, I went and talked to them, say, hey, I'm gonna get chickens. I'm not getting any roosters, but I'm getting chickens. Like, if you have a problem, let me know. Or if when I get them, when they're too loud or something, let me know. And all of my neighbors love, because I'm kind of sandwiched between 3 houses, actually. And then I have woods across the front of my house. But the neighbors love looking out and looking at my chickens. My one neighbor behind me, she's an older lady. She's like probably in her 70s or something. And I was talking to her one day, not long ago actually, and she was telling me how much she enjoys looking at my chickens from her back deck, because when she was a little girl, her aunt lived like in Virginia or something like that, and that was just one of the good memories she had of her aunt's house, was her having chickens just running around the yard.
Yeah.
So, and I hear that, like, you know, these older generation people love that I have chickens. So it's, you know, it's a connection that's gapping generations now, and to harp on the chickens, because I'm a huge chicken advocate.
Oh yeah.
It really it spans generations. It spans parties. It spans, income levels. Background, socioeconomic backgrounds, and everybody can get on board with chickens. So that is, if I have one tip to take from the night, is get chickens.
Yeah.
If you can, get chickens. And if not, get quail. You can have quail inside. They stink, but you can have birds inside. And quails have good eggs, and they're good for meat.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, and quail tastes great, honestly.
Yeah, it's delicious.
Yeah, but chickens, that's honestly at the top of my list. One of the first things we're doing as soon as we get out of here, because the benefit is just, it outweighs everything, you know?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, their care is pretty simple, considering farm animals. You know, I worked on a farm for several years. It was a vegetable farm, and I was tasked with taking care of the animals, goats. There was a couple of alpacas, a couple of donkeys and everything, and the chickens were always my favorite, though. Unless I was bent over trying to feed them, and they would jump on my back or something, you know.
Yeah.
But
yeah, and they make good pets. I mean, we don't use ours for meat. They're for eggs, and they're pets. We love our chickens. My son, he's 4. He likes helping take care of the chickens. He likes getting the eggs out of the coop and helping me feed them, and he'll chase them around. And when he has, their little cup of chicken treats or scratch, they know what it is, so they chase him around the yard, and he laughs. And it's a good way to show him responsibility. Something other than our dog inside. This is a little bit different than an inside animal, right? Because they live outside. They give us something that we actually consume. So I think it's a really good learning experience for my son, and I hope he has chickens when he's older.
Yeah. Yeah. So, kind of relate this to something that I bring this up to a lot of people, and I think it opens a lot of people's eyes. I think you'll kind of agree. So, I mean, I'm sure back during the Red Scare, the duck and cover under school desks when the bomb drops or whatever. It was during that time period. There was the U.S. Civil Defense, and they would promote things to Americans, having the bomb shelters or whatever, but they would also promote Americans to be as self-sufficient as possible, grow little gardens, be able to supplement your lifestyle in any way you could, just in case something terrible happened, or just to help supply chain issues and everything. Mm-hmm. When this whole pandemic came around, there was nothing like that. Nothing coming from the government about, take care of yourself. No. This is how you do it. I I mean, even with the masks, there was no instructions on how to properly use them, how to properly dispose of them. There was no, I mean, supposedly these masks, right, are all covered in nasty COVID germs, and there's no place to dispose of them anywhere at all, right?
Parking lot.
Yeah, exactly. The parking lot, your glove box, your back pocket, whatever. Just keep reusing the same one. And then right at the start of this, there was the great toilet paper shortage. I think all of these things combined should really show people that having a little bit of food on hand, whether it be fresh food, storable food, emergency food from whatever company, or like homemade dehydrated food or anything, just having some extra supplies on hand is not the craziest thing in the world. And that
No.
with the supply shortages now, there wouldn't be supply shortages if they were American-made products. And it's
and if people were able to supplement their weekly groceries with something from their garden, right? You could just pick the thing that you eat the most that you could reasonably grow, and just grow it, right? If you eat a lot of potatoes, just grow potatoes. They store for a long time, right? And so it's just like little things like that. Imagine if everybody who loved baked potatoes, that like growing up, my dad, his favorite side was a baked potato, so we probably had it 2 or 3 times a week sometimes. If we just growing up, the garden that we had in my parents' house just made that all potatoes, we would never have to buy potatoes. Not buy them because they're expensive. Potatoes are cheap, but we wouldn't have to rely on the supply chain giving us our potatoes, right? And then when you have that staple that that you can propagate, you've learned all the in and outs. All the bugs that eat them. You know all the funguses, diseases. What conditions they like, what they don't like, and you're the potato growing expert. Next thing you know, you're trading your potatoes for tomatoes, and then the tomatoes for cucumbers, and then the cucumbers for chicken eggs. And next thing you know, you have a full pantry just from your potatoes, and you still have potatoes. So it's just like, it's that mindset that people need to start doing. People need to start talking to their neighbors, figuring out what neighbors are growing stuff, who has chickens or turkeys, quail, whatever it is, and just start trading with each other.
Yeah.
Even if you don't need it, just trade, right? Just move these things around, because somebody might come over your house and see that you have a dozen quail eggs. Oh, what'd you get the quail eggs? Oh, we just traded them for some tomatoes. Do you want them? You want the quail eggs? And then next thing you know, your friend is hitting up your neighbor for quail eggs every month just to have around the house, right? So we just got to start doing these things. We got to stop being so scared of each other. Not even before the pandemic, we were scared of each other. It's cool to be an introvert, which I'm an introverted person, but you got to put yourself out there, right?
Yeah.
You can't. Too much relies on you not building relationships. Honestly, that's the only reason that I've gotten to this point where I am, is because I build relationships with people, and people are willing to help you. You help them, they help you. It's all mutual. It's volunteerism. And I just try to live that. I'm not the best at speaking it. But I just hope people see my actions, at least people that actually see me like in real life, see what I do, and can say, hey, he's doing some of that shit. I can do some of that shit too. It's really not that hard. It takes a little bit of effort. You get a little bit uncomfortable for a little while, but it all works out, right?
Yeah, and it's so much more rewarding, honestly, when you can profit from the fruits of your labor, whether it's just that one simple thing, that one simple choice. I don't know what it is. There's just a certain amount of pride in it, and it always made me feel great. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, and that's what it's all about, and that's why I wasn't good in school. I wasn't good. I mean, I stopped going to community college just because it wasn't for me. But I've been a chef. And then my son was born. I was like, this doesn't pay enough to have a kid and be a chef. But that's skills that I learned. And now I'm a welder. I'm actually an aerospace welder. So it's pick up these skills where you can. I didn't go into being a chef thinking I'd come out an aerospace welder. But that's just the way things down. I made relationships. I met people. Opportunities arose. It's part skill. I happen to be able to do these things, but you don't have to be a chef or a welder to have a skill.
Yeah.
You can knit. It's anything. You can communicate. If you can communicate well, if you can advertise, if you can make design, if you can draw, if you can paint, it's all of these things, because at some point somebody is going to need that skill. And if you can network enough, then there's a lot more people that are going to need your skill, not just me, right?
Yeah.
So that's what it's really come down to, is networking. We had to read a book in high school. It was that how to meet people and influence people or something like that. I can't remember the exact title of it, but we had to read that book. And me being kind of the shy person that I was in high school, I was like, oh, I'll never be one of these people. Well, naturally, I've kind of become one of these people. I've realized that I'm the person that says, hey, you can do this, you can do that, you guys need to meet, and then go. And then I'm out of the picture, right? And I don't care. That I've realized that's really my purpose, at least in this whole liberty movement. And in life, too. I've helped people connect to get people jobs and things like that. But, it's finding your place in the world, not just the liberty movement, that really can... that just motivates you. It just comes natural. Just making those connections, networking, and then making connections, and then you just made two people become friends, and you just got to be happy with that they're the friends now. Yep. That you're on to make and the next two friends that are going to work together and do great things. So you got to find your place in the world. You got to find your place in the movement, and if that means growing tomatoes, then fucking yeah.
Yeah, no, and I think growing tomatoes, having chickens, getting your hands a little dirty, honestly, that's one of the best ways to do it. So,
yeah, exactly.
It's
and learn. It's a learning curve with everything. You just learn. Don't be afraid to fail. You will fail. Oh, you're going to fail.
Well, and God,
but
just
learn
pick up
from
a
those
book
failures.
too.
Yep.
Like,
we have the internet.
Yeah.
I mean, YouTube. As much as I talk shit about YouTube, it's a great learning resource. I've saved so much money by going to YouTube and fixing things like on my truck by myself.
YouTube University.
Oh yeah, and it's legit. You take these resources while they're still here, right? While you can still find them and easily access them, because I feel like the more and more things that we know how to do with our hands, they're gonna be going away.
Oh yeah.
Machining, welding. They don't want you to know how to machine. They don't want you to know how to run a 3-axis mill.
Oh no.
Because then you can make a gun, right?
Yeah.
You can do. They don't want you to know these things, so learn them while you can. If you know somebody that can do these things, just ask them. Hey, can you teach me how to weld one day? I might be like, sure, just bring the material because I can't afford it, but I'll show you how to weld. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's just ask people. Just ask. The worst that you're going to hear is no.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to teach you that thing. All right, douchebag, fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Just,
all right, I'll
just
go
move on and find
else.
the next person. Exactly, because somebody else out there is willing to teach you how to do something that you want to learn how to do.
Yeah, asking questions. Honestly, it's I've never been set back in life by asking a question. I've only gotten better. I've only gained knowledge. It's asking questions is one of the most valuable things ever, which does lead me.
And there really is no such thing as a stupid question.
No, there really is not. Well, I mean, I've heard I've heard some people ask some stupid questions, but it's mainly the person. So, but
right.
that does ask me or lead me to ask, how'd you get into the 3D printing?
A Facebook coupon. It really was
such
a
an
Facebook
awesome
coupon.
answer.
So I had been wanting to get into 3D printing for a long time, like a really long time, like back when like your run-of-the-mill machine was like a couple grand.
Yeah.
I couldn't afford that shit. I still can't afford that shit. thus brings me to the Facebook coupon. There was a computer store. They're nationwide. I have a couple in my area, and they had a sale on an Ender 3 Pro with $100 off, and then this Facebook coupon for another $100 off. So I got an Ender 3 Pro for $100, and that started my actually physically printing process, and that was fairly new. I've had it for 9 months, about 6 months, and it takes up too much of my time. My wife gets really pissed off at me. My it's sitting right next to me. I don't even want to show you my workbench. It's just a mess right now. There's PLA bits all over the place, and parts all over the place. But it's a hobby. It is fun, and it's really fun. And if you can think it, and if you have a bit of an aptitude for writing CAD files and manipulating things in 3D space on the computer, that's it. They're screwed, right?
Yeah.
Because it will allow you to really, really practice anarchy.
Yeah.
You could theoretically make almost anything you wanted on a 3D printer. Almost. On the Ender 3 Pro, not the ones that extrude metal, just these plastic ones. And it really is, I don't want to sound like too romantic, but it really is the future of freedom and liberty.
Yeah.
It sounds weird. I sound weird talking about it, I feel like, because the realm of possibilities with 3D printers is kind of astounding to me, right? We're not talking just about little things around your house, or not even talking about firearms. We're talking about 3D printing things so people can walk again that cost dollars as opposed to tens of thousands of dollars. It's and there's nothing they can do to stop you from doing those things, right? They cannot stop you from being creative, making
stop the
things,
files,
and physically print those things out. Now, New Jersey, you have to have an FFL to own any firearm file, which is crazy. But yeah, the file, and that's and that's a great that's a great example of agorism, is the 3D printing community, because you can go to Thingiverse and find thousands and thousands and thousands of files of almost anything. Gutter guards, they got them. T-Rex arms for your chickens, they got them.
Yeah.
And all they ask is if you want to sell them, you just ask for the licensure, and they'll most of the time they give it to you. Then you can print the things and sell them yourself. So it's not even like people want to make money off of this thing. This is agorism to the nth degree. It's beautiful what the 3D community does. I'm still just new in it compared to how long some of these people have been into it and what they're able to do. I'm just a huge proponent of it. I talk about it every chance I get. And it's fun, and it's a great, if you're looking for a hobby and you like to create things, the 3D printer is amazing. It really, really is.
Yeah, I've been looking at getting into it just because of the pure freedom. I mean, the firearms is one thing, and God, we could have an entire episode just talking about just that alone, We really could. Yeah, it's amazing just what the community has going on, and I mean what's happened, and the ups and downs of everything, but then just the idea of undercutting industry in general. It can really overthrow the monopoly that certain companies like Amazon has on so many things. It really puts those types of monopolies into the obsolete. The freedom.
Imagine you could just home manufacture anything you want.
Yeah.
Just anything. As long as your printing bed is big enough, if you can dream it, you can print it. And that's what we need to get to. We need to get everybody 3D printing. It really is the way of the future. It's the way that we're going to be able to practice our natural rights when everything else has been taken away from us, pretty much.
Yeah, exactly. Rest in peace, Jay Stark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that.
Yeah, I would love to do one of those one day.
Yeah,
one day.
Yeah, that's on my list. A functional vase. So, yeah, it's wild, man. I believe it as libertarians, as agorists, as just people just living in the former shell that was once America. We are in the perfect time to honestly take back what this country is actually meant to be. And we can do it in many peaceful ways, which I think is still amazing. The ability to opt out, the ability to 3D print anything. I mean, granted, there might be a day when push comes to shove. There are lines in the sand, and I think I could probably speak for most people that we don't want to see this happen. That's not something we want to see happen. But if it were to happen, better it happen now than later. Let me suffer so my children don't have to. But
exactly. That is my biggest thing.
Yeah.
I especially with now, I'm losing my job in December. There's no way around it. I could try to seek a religious exemption, but that's just playing their game, right? And I don't want to play into it at all. I'm not getting the vaccine on my own decision. I don't think nobody should get the vaccine. I'm not getting it. It's not for me. My son won't be getting it when they eventually make it for 2 to 4-year-olds or whatever the hell they decide. So I'll be losing my job on December 8th, and I could just comply and just just keep my job and keep that safety and comfort. But it's now is the time to make a stand, because when my son in 10-15 years, when he's a teenager, early 20s, we're going to look back on this time, and the people that didn't comply, or the people that powered through this and still kept their sanity and their ideas of liberty and freedom, their kids, that's going to pass on to their kids. And I want my son to ask me in 10, 15, 20 years, Dad, what did you do? What did you do to fight this bullshit? Because not enough people fought it, and now we're all, under constant surveillance and shit. Well, I can tell them I did this, I did that, and I did this, and I don't know what else is going to come. I don't know what else we're going to have to do, but I know so far of what I've done. I'm losing my job. I mean, that's fucking terrifying, and it's not because I want to leave my job. It's the government. Literally, the government is forcing me out of my job. I mean, do you ever think you'd hear that in America? In 2021, the United States government is forcing me out of my job because I don't want an experimental vaccine. So we have to make a stand now. You have to draw your line in the sand and draw it really hard, really deep, so that no matter what wave comes up, you don't forget where that line is, because people are drawing their lines, but they're forgetting where they are, and they're stepping back, and they're stepping back, and they're stepping back. Well, eventually you're going to fall off that cliff that's behind you that you don't even know is behind you. So you really have to draw your line in the sand, draw it really fucking hard, know exactly where it is, and when that line gets crossed, you have to stand up. You have to push against this, right? You can only defend yourself for so long before you have to go on the offensive, when you have no other choice.
Yeah.
So we as a collective, as much as we hate collectives,
Yeah.
but that's what this really falls down on, is us as a complete, as a population for this country, is that the majority of us have to stand up and define our line in the sand and stand to it, because as soon as you falter, they're just going to take those rights away, take them away, take them away, take them away.
Yeah.
So fucking draw your line in the sand and know where it is and keep your eye on it, because those boots are going to be treading on that line real soon.
Oh yeah. You don't stand for something, you'll fall for anything.
Exactly.
And now's our time. That's if America means anything, if our freedom means anything, this is the hill to die on. And
yep. And same thing with workers. There's workers voluntarily leaving their jobs in mass right now. If you have a skill, now is the time to start your own business. Now is the time to network with all these other people that are leaving their jobs with skills, and then you can, you have a network of tradesmen that you can, okay, I'll do this job, and then I'll give it to you. You can do this job, and then before you know it, you have a business without ever being an actual business. And that's what we have to start doing. We have to start taking advantage of people that have skills, people that can do things, make things, or ideas, and put them out into physical reality, and just come together and do this shit. Because the government's not going to do it. They're not. They're going to take everything away from us. So
and I'll go and say learn how to use some cryptocurrency. Dip into the silver bullion, the gold bullion, get some gold backs, fuck a business license, start doing everything under the table, fuck the IRS, just do what you need to do for your family, your community, and we'll make it through. And honestly, that's a peaceful way to do it too. We just decide to not play their game, just stop doing it,
Yeah, it goes across the board with everything. Even if you do have to keep fiat currency, don't keep it in a bank.
Yeah.
Don't keep it. Your money goes away. You're just hoping when you put in your PIN and that cash comes out of the ATM, that your cash is actually available for you to pull out. People don't realize that. The bank uses your money as they please, right?
Well, and just don't keep all of your wealth in it. Diversify.
Yeah.
Just even if it's not bullion or crypto or anything else, just get something else worth of value that you could trade, even if that means taking that fiat currency and learning that new skill, paying listening to Tom Woods or whatever, and use his coupon code Woods for Skillshare or whatever, it's just something. Do something to better yourself, to diversify, whether it's skill, value, whatever. It's like I said, I think I'm honestly really white-pilled. As dark as things are, we have the perfect opportunity to come out way stronger than I think we've probably ever seen in our lifetime in this country. So just really takes growing a pair, standing up, ladies putting their big girl panties on, and guys manning up, putting their big boy panties on, and just doing it. So,
right. If it was hopeless, they wouldn't need their propaganda.
Yeah.
And their constant lies. So remember that. Remember the moment you stop seeing propaganda pushed, or you stop seeing things being misconstrued or lied about, then it's hopeless. They rely on those lies and our fear. Just stop being scared. Stop listening to them. Do what's best for you. And that's all. That's what it comes down to. Stop listening to them. Listen to yourself, and do what you have to do.
Damn right. Well, on that note, I think we're gonna wrap it up here. It was a great conversation. This was a fucking blast. I knew it was gonna be great.
Yeah, this was fun.
So, want to let people know where they can find you, where they can come and support you, drop you a line, whatever?
Sure. I'm on Twitter. Handle is @Suburban Agorist. capital S. I'm always on Twitter, but I'm not always posting. So if you want to just message me, I'll see it. I've been on, and I plan on being again here soon, on Not a Real Liberty Luau podcast, part of Bootleg Libertarians, Not a Real Libertarian Network, with Nick
Love
O'Day
Bootleg.
as the host. Yeah. So I plan on being on there again soon. And then, speaking of Bootleg and Nick O'Day, we're working on something, and I think it got announced tonight on Nick's show. We are starting, some of us that are left of what was the RCLP are starting a coalition. It's called the Revolution Coalition. We aren't aligning with the LP per se. We're not aligning with any political party. We are more so trying to prepare people for what we were talking about earlier, growing food, livestock, firearms training, physical training, just getting into that mindset. So right now, we actually are in works with Natalie Bruno right now to work on some basic firearm safety videos. So that'll be us, the Revolution Coalition, and Natalie Bruno putting those videos out. We're going to start working on them soon, hopefully. So look out for those. So yeah, that's something to look out for. If you follow Bootleg or Nick O'Day on Twitter, you may have seen some hints dropped. And that's kind of all I can say right now. But we're hoping to encapsulate the Liberty movement as a whole and just help people. That's what we want to do. We just want to help people.
Yeah, that's great. I'll keep in touch with all of you guys, and I'll be promoting the shit out of that, because honestly, that's the main reason I started my podcast, was really to build community, whether the community is across state lines or across country lines. I don't give a shit. It's building a community of like-minded people, connecting with other podcasters and everybody else. So yeah, I'll definitely be pushing that on my channel. So, and
dope. That's good to know.
Oh yeah, definitely. All the other listeners, check out Rise to Liberty at risetoliberty.com, and for a really awesome news channel and meme channel, bullshit channel, go to risetoliberty.com/free speech for the Telegram channel, for as long as that's free, because fuck all these other social media platforms. So, all right, Brian, it was a pleasure talking to you. We'll have you back on. It was great.
Thanks, Jacob. Have a good one, man.
Yeah, you too.